Healing the whole man is never just one thing. No matter what he's dealing with when he comes to us or our ministry or our church or whatever, he's never dealing with just one thing. Now, most of us are in a particular ministry or whatever because it touched some trauma, some experience, something in our lives, right? That's true for me. I lost 2 kids to abortion before I was 22 years old. And so Almost Daddy made perfect sense for me to serve. But the funny thing is, if you would have asked me 4 years ago when my novel Almost Daddy, The Forgotten Story was published, what it was about, I would have told you it was about a young man whose girlfriend has an abortion when he's in high school and the pain and stuff that happened because of it. I would have told you it was about loss and confusion and shame and grief and anger. And that's true in part. But there's so much more to the story. See, our protagonist, Ben, we don't get a lot into his backstory, but we do know that his parents are divorced, so his dad was gone, fatherless home, right? We know his stepdad was nobody's bargain, and he was gone too, and we know he had no relationship with God. And then the abortion. So there was already a lot going on in this kid's life. By the time Ben became curious about God and about recovery and healing, a decade had passed since the abortion in high school. So that's 10 years of bad decisions, pain, and more grief, and further separation from God. So there's already a lot going on in his life, and in other men's lives too. We know that studies tell us 1 in 5 men will experience abortion loss by the time they're 45 in this country. 1 in 5. That's 20%, and I'm not good at math. 1 in 5 men will also experience physical abuse by the time they're 18. And 1 in 7 men will experience sexual abuse by the time they're 18. My point is, we know these guys. And some of us are these guys. These men are in your church, they're in your ministry, they're at the ball game, and they're at the local pub. So by the time a young man reaches adulthood, there's already so much going on. Men are hurting in our society, and we're missing it. I read a stat the other day. 12 men every day in this country lose their battle with mental health and take their own life. That's every single day. So the danger comes with ministry leaders when we focus on our own lane so much that we miss what the men we're trying to serve really need. So I got 3 things I want to talk about for how to heal the whole man. The first thing is meet men where they're at. Often we get wrapped up in what we want to tell them. We want to plug them into this program, give them this book, get them in this group, whatever the thing is, right? But how do we know what that guy needs? We have no context. Well, we have to ask questions. We have to ask good questions, and we have to truly listen. And we have to be prepared to connect that man to his what's next. In the course of facilitating men's abortion healing groups, guys often get in touch with something else, anger, addiction, whatever the case may be. See, a guy starts feeling a little bit better, and then he notices something else in his life. It's kind of like if you guys are into sailing, you scrape the barnacles off your boat, right? And then you find a crack in the hull, and then you patch the hole, and then you find out your bilge pump doesn't work. And so it goes. My point is, if we don't believe deeply in healing the whole man, we may miss the thing that he needs next. We may claim victory at the end of our group. We got him through, he's healed. And yet, it's not the end for him. What he needs is to adjust the sails and catch a different wind. All right, so the second thing, for us to be effective, we have to, in the words of my dad, sweep our own side of the street. And what I mean by that is recovery, healing, drawing closer to God. All those are lifelong endeavors, right? But what about exercise? What about doing a few push-ups a day, maybe walking a couple miles? Reading about men's issues in general, not just whatever you work on. You realize if you read 20 pages a day, just 20, at the end of a year, you'll have read 12 to 15 books. Whatever subject you pick, you're going to be an expert. Eating better, staying in the Word, these kind of things. And be mindful, what I'm saying here is not to jump in and do 100 things all at once. I'm just saying be intentional, a little bit each day. Improve in these areas. And then, from that place of personal growth, we can encourage other men, and we lead by example. And the third thing that I believe is vitally important is that we have to change the way that we talk about men's issues and the issues they face. We have to change it in our churches, in our ministries, and just as dudes, how we talk about it. We have to remove the stigma as if the sin of abortion or sexual sin or addiction to substances is somehow different than workaholism or overeating or exercise addiction. In short, we have to remove the toxic shame from our churches and then truly become a place for the healing of the broken and the sick. And we understand the difference, right, between toxic shame and healthy shame. Healthy shame is I did bad. That's from God. Toxic shame is I am bad. That's not from God. In the book, Ben happened by what he thought was a pub. He heard a Christian rock band playing. Well, you heard a rock band playing. It turns out it was a Christian band. And there was a meeting going on for men who had lost children from abortion. And he met a pastor. And the pastor, he finds out pretty quickly, is an ex-con and a recovering addict. Now, I chose those options and people in that scene to illustrate a very simple point. Ben wasn't going to go to a church to find healing, and most men won't. And I'll share something with you. In a recent study on men and abortion, 7% would go to their clergy to talk about abortion healing. My high school shop teacher can count that on two hands. 7%. So where are they going? I don't know, but we got to go to them. The above example illustrates all three ideas. Meet men where they are. The meeting was at a pub. Work on yourself. The pastor he met, Hugo, obviously did a lot of work on himself to go from a felon in prison and a drug addict to a pastor. And then we changed the way we talk about issues. Hugo was open and honest about the issues he dealt with, about why the men were there, and most importantly, about what God did to change his life. That kind of authenticity is inviting. And it made Ben curious. And it's the kind of work we have to do if we want to heal the whole man. That may sound like a tall order, and it is. And it can be complicated. But here's the thing, y'all. It ain't hard. It just requires us to be intentional and deliberate in a few areas that we may not be just today. And that path, I would say, is how we learn how to heal the whole man. I guess my final word is that if you truly want to help men find healing in any area, realize it's never just one thing. Realize that the greatest service to any man, whomever he may be and whatever his issue is to take the time to work with him authentically, vulnerably, and to work on your own self-discovery. We truly listen to understand his particular needs. We do the hard work on ourselves to become truly authentic, and we change the way we talk about mental health issues in men. If we can all practice these in our ministries, we'll change men on a deep level and help them find the relationship with God they were born for. That's my time. Thank you.